With the Premier League season almost underway, it's time for me to do my Premier League predictions. To start off in 20th, to no one's surprise, I'm going to have to put Sunderland. Sunderland doesn't have a lot going for them. They haven't made a ton of transfers that are big and something that makes me say, oh, wow, they're really going to do well with this season because of that guy. They haven't done any of those transfers, and they lost Joe Bellingham, who is potentially their best player. So there's no reason for me not to put Sunderland in last. The only thing they're going to be competing for is not to beat Derby's record. Next, in 19th, I'm putting Burnley. So originally, I put Burnley in 17th out of the relegation zone. I thought a couple other teams were going to get relegated, not them. And then I saw who's coaching them. It's Scott Parker. If you don't know who Scott Parker is, he is one of the greatest coaches at getting a team relegated. He got potentially one of the greatest teams that Fulham has had in a while relegated somehow. We'll start off with in goal. He had Alphonse Areola. If you don't know who he is, he's at West Ham now. He's a starter there. He had Ola Aina, who at right back, who's now at Forest, a team that finished in 7th. He had Joachim Anderson, who's now at starting center back at Palace, who just won the FA Cup. Next, you have Adarabioyo, who's now a starter for Chelsea. For Chelsea! Somebody just won the Club World Cup. And then you have Bobby De Cordova Reed, a solid whatever position you want to play him at. Lamina, who was at Wolves for a little bit, I don't remember where he is now, and he's a fair player. And Anguissa, who's a starter for Napoli. And you have Anthony Robinson, who's still a star he's a star for Fulham now. And you had Loftus Cheek, who I don't know where he is now, but he's had a career, and tons of other players like Lookman too. The fact that Scott Parker managed to get them relegated means that it does not matter what team it is. Burnley's doomed. Unless they sack him like before December, they're doomed. Scott Parker could take Liverpool and manage to get them relegated somehow because he will make the worst decision for every position. I don't know how he does it, but Burnley's only hope to not get relegated this season is just sack him as quick as possible. That's what Bournemouth did. That's what Fulham should have done, but that's their only hope. And I'm not even going to get started with Scott Parker's record in the Premier League. It's not good. Separating from that Scott Parker rant, I'm going to have to put Wolves in 18th. The reason I'm doing this is because they lost two of their best players. They lost Cunha and Ait Nori, and they don't have exactly that big offensive power that they had last year, even though it wasn't great. But they still had a capability of scoring goals. Yes, they do have a couple of good players still. Jose Sa is going to do well in goal, but I don't think Wolves is a reliable bet to stay in the Premier League because they've just lost too much talent. And right now, they just don't really have what's necessary to stay in the Premier League. And last year, they finished 16th, even with their two best players, in my opinion. So I don't know what they can do this season. I think that relegation may be their destiny this year. Just above the relegation zone, I'm going to put Brentford in 17th. The reason I'm doing this is and they're going so low is because they lost two of their best players. They lost Embuemo and Wisa, and they also lost their coach. And I don't know what to expect from them this year. They haven't made some big transfers. They haven't made a ton of those, so I don't know what to expect from them. And I don't think they're going to get relegated because they still have kept most of their talent. Their midfield in defense is still fine, but they're going to lack what they did best, having a potent offense. And without that, I'm not sure how much of a club they're going to be. So it's hard to tell what they're going to do for the rest of the season and what transfers they're going to make late on this season. But I think that Brentford still has a chance to stay up there, but Wolves and Brentford could switch positions anytime. I'm not sure. In 16th, too, I know some people shocked probably. I'm going to put Leeds, which is probably above what most people do and would say because usually you put newly promoted teams not that high, but they have such a good offense. James is fast, and he did fairly good at Fulham last time he was in the Premier League. His big ability is being fast, and Fulham didn't utilize it well, but he showed better potential at Leeds. And their offense is pretty good. Ganoda and Pirot are pretty good players, and they also have a solid defense. Strujic is a good defender, and he's kind of off offensively minded, but I think they're going to have a good season. They're not going to have a great season. They're not going to just go off and be amazing, but it's what you'd expect from a good newly promoted team. 16th is a fair assessment for them. So I think they'll have a good season. In 15th, to my sadness, I'm going to have to put Palace. I want them to finish top half, but reason says otherwise. They're going to have to juggle the Conference League and also just playing in general, and is a threat of losing Eze. They may not lose him. Arsenal kind of has dropped out of it, but the threat of losing him is so bad. If they do lose him, they are definitely going to get bottom half. But if they don't lose him, they have a potential to stay up there. But juggling Europe as well as the Premier League is going to be difficult for them because they don't have a ton of depth. Their players on the bench are pretty young and not amazing. They have potential on the bench, but they aren't good on the bench. So I don't think Palace has what is necessary to do both of those. They're either going to flunk in Europe or they're going to flunk in the Premier League, and I'm betting they're flunking the Premier League. So I'm putting them in 15th. I'm hoping for better, expecting the worst. In 14th, I'm going to put Everton. And the reason I'm putting Everton here is because it's similar to what they finished last year, give or take a couple places, but they haven't really changed their team much, so I can't really say they're gonna do better or worse. Really, the teams that are near them haven't really improved, so they're gonna finish in the same area. And this is about where the point where I kind of say it's mid-table, shuffle them around, and those some of them will be right, right? So that's the beginning of it. And Everton's there. They may be 14th, they may be 8th. It's really throwing darts at the board. So I'm putting Everton 14th. I think they're the weakest mid-table team, but they may surprise me. 13th, I'm gonna have to put Bournemouth because it's a little worse than they did last season, but not much worse. They've kept some of the talent that they said they weren't gonna keep earlier on, so I kind of was gonna put them lower on the table, but they've kept some of it. They've kept Kluivert and kept Evan Nielsen for now, but since they lost Kirkez, they lost a couple other good players, and losing them is going to be difficult for them. And I don't think they're going to do much. They can't do better than they did last season, just losing that talent. And also the Petrovic in goal is going to be good for them. It's a good signing. He's better than Neto in my opinion. But I think that Bournemouth can't do much better just with the loss of a couple of players. The 13th just pretty much mid-table. It's again shuffling it around in that mid-table area. It's hard to predict. It's very random, but I think that Bournemouth is a weaker side now that they've lost a couple players. Next up in 12th, I'm going to have to put Fulham because it's a similar assessment to what they got last year. Last year, I think they got 11th, but they really haven't improved their club. They just haven't got a ton of signings. And I don't think anyone's going to really push them over to become a better team offensively in general because defensively, they're pretty good. But offensively, final third, they just lack that final just power, whatever, to actually score. And they don't really have that right now. And they need someone who can who's able to help them in that area. And right now they don't have anyone who's gonna do that. So I think it's gonna be difficult to give them any higher than 12th, and I think it'll be difficult for them to be top half just because honestly they don't have what other top half clubs have. Just a good flowing team. They don't have that offensive potentness, but are good defensively. So I don't think that they'll have much of a problem like staying in the league or being mid-table. Even that they're fine. They're in no threat of losing anything. It's just probably need a couple seasons to get better. That's all it is. Next up in 11th, I'm going to put West Ham. West Ham, I initially put lower down in the Everton range, so bottom mid table, but I put them a little higher after watching a couple of minutes of the summer series. But uh, West Ham's been pretty good, so I think that they have potential to be a good team this season. Bowen's doing very well. He did last season. I think he will this season. And getting a new keeper is never bad, even though I think Ariel is still a very good keeper and he'll do it well on his own. I think that getting him will improve the team. This new keeper, I think his name's John. It it's just John. Um, I think that he's going to improve the team and give West Ham a bit of an improvement. Also, their striker Fulkrug, I think that's how you'd pronounce it, Fulkrug. He's pretty good. He's done well so far from what I've seen from him. So I think that West Ham has a pretty good offense. They're going to do well defensively. They were pretty good defensively last season. Not great, but good enough. And I think that with a bit of improvement, they can do very well this season. So, but again, it's mid-table, so it's hard to predict. But I think that West Ham could surprise me and get higher. But I think right now the mid tables just it's fine for them. Getting 11th, yeah, I think that's what they probably deserve. Next in 10th, I'm going to have to put Brighton. And honestly, I don't know enough about Brighton to really tell you what they're going to do this season. I don't have any insights on them. And they haven't really lost anyone. They lost João Pedro, which I think will hit them, but not hit them too hard. So I'm giving them 10th. They're an overall pretty good team. You know, Matoma's a good player, and whoever they're going to be playing at striker, either Rudder or Welbeck, I think that they'll do well as a replacement. And you know, they could do well this season. They could do better than I thought. Originally, I put them in 7th just because vibes, but you know, reason got to me, and I said, you know what, maybe they're not that good of a team. I just looked at their squad and they're not the best team. A they're not like a Europe level team. They're a fair team, and I think they can do well this season. But I don't think they're gonna do too well. So I'm putting them in 10th. In ninth, I'm going to have to put Nottingham Forest. The reason behind this is because Nottingham Forest, though they have good team overall, they don't have the depth necessary to both compete in Europe and the Premier League. It's the same thing that Palace is facing. They're not really facing losing a great player of theirs like Palace is, but they still have a similar issues, and I think that they're going to do worse than last season. And you could tell from last season they kind of wore out at the end and got worse and worse. They were in third at a point and maybe even second, and then they dropped down to seventh. And I think that because of that, and seeing what happened to them last season, I don't think we could expect them to do higher than what they did last season. And they haven't really improved their squad in such a way that makes them better as a team. So I think that it's hard to put them higher than ninth just because juggling Europe and Premier League is seen to be very difficult. We've seen other less depth strength depth strengthened teams like West Ham try to do it and absolutely failing the next season in Premier League. So as you can see, smaller clubs that aren't at that big six level have a very difficult time doing both at the same time. Just they're lacking the depth. So that's why I'm saying that Forest is going to be in ninth and not do the same as they did last season. It's just they have depth issue. In eighth, I'm going to put Manchester United. They got a new coach, they got some new players, and they won't have to play Harry Maguire at striker anymore. Thank God. Even though he was good at striker for some reason, they won't have to do it. He may not even start anymore, which is funny because if you look at their projected lineups, he may not start. So going from the starting striker to the starting nobody, um, tough hit for Maguire. But either way, I think that with a new manager, they could get their stuff together and be less of a hot mess. You know, Cunha and Embuemo are very good players. I think Cunha's a better player, but both of them are very strong players that will infinitesimally increase their ability up front. Fernandez and Buemo and Cunha is an outstanding trio to have up front, and it is going to pretty much carry them. For defensively, they're questionable. They always have been. It's, and I think that's going to happen for them. They're going to have some difficulty defensively, but up front, they're just going to be very potent. And it's like what Brentford was last year, let up a lot of goals, but score a lot of goals. It's what they're going to do. And I think because of that, they're just going to have a pretty good season, better than what they did last year. So that's where I'm putting them. They're a good team. Next up in seventh, another team that was going to be potentially relegated last season is Spurs. I'm putting Spurs there because despite Spurs last season being a joke, their problem was their injuries. And yeah, Madison just got injured, which does not look good for them. But I still think they have a good team. And just because Madison's injured at the beginning of the season doesn't mean that it's going to harm them for the rest of it. They have a good team, and they aren't losing everyone. Like last season, they had 7 of their starting 11 players hurt. That is very difficult to handle. So, but now that they have Solanke and Romero and Vicario and Poro, I think was injured at a time, back and healthy, and I think Van de Ven was probably injured too. As long as they have all of them healthy, the team that Spurs has is pretty good. So I don't think there's anything to worry about for them. They should do much better this season than they did last. Next up in the top 6, I'm going to put Manchester City. Partially because I hate them, another partially because where's their defense? It's like what I'm screaming at my FIFA players. Where's the defense? If you watch the game against Al Hilal, I'm not sure they played anyone in the back. They may have just been playing a 5-4-1 for all I know. And I mean, the 5 is in the midfield. The 4 is like Sarataki Bids, and 1 is Holland. Like, do they have a defense? Is that something they're capable of doing? Like, I think Vardiol, who is a pretty much a wing, is like a left back, like a fullback, who's like a kind of attacking minded left back, uh, is playing center back for them because he's the closest to the defender they have. What are they doing? They just got Aït-Nouri. They don't need Aït-Nouri. What's Aït-Nouri gonna do for them? Aït-Nouri is another wingback. They don't need another wingback. What are they gonna do? 4 wingbacks and 1 center back? What is it? It's just it's poorly coached. Pep, what are you doing? That's why I'm putting Manchester City that far down, which isn't that far down, but that's why I'm putting them down there. Just because is defense like important for you? It's like just City's just they're weird. You know, you're a City fan, you're weird, and you're fake. There's no City fans that actually know anyone before they got good. Can you, if you're a City fan, can you name anyone who was at City before they got into the Premier League? You can't. But that's all I got for City. So moving on. In fifth, I'm gonna put Villa because they're a solid team overall. Offensively, they're very good. Defensively, they're not as good, but they're still fair. And they have a good team. There's not much to complain about them. They have a good coach. They have a good manager. They're a fine team. They're gonna do well this season. They've done well last season, the previous seasons. Even when I said, you know what, I thought they were gonna be like another West Ham. Get into Europe and then fall. And you know what? They haven't. And hats off to them. They've done well. So I think that it's not unexpected to put Villa in the top 5. It's almost expected to put them higher at this point, but I don't think they're at that point to be putting them higher. So I think that Villa's a fair 5th place. I don't think they're as good as the top 4 teams. Just honestly, I don't think they're as good talent-wise. But 5th, it's pretty much what you expect from them. Starting off the top 4, I'm putting Arsenal. This may come to some people's surprise. You think Arsenal would be higher than 4th. 4th is pretty good, but no, you want them higher because you believe in Arsenal. But I don't believe in Arsenal. Arsenal has problems. Yes, they are very good defensively. They have potentially the best defense in the league. But offensively, they're kind of questionable. Like Saka, Havertz are very good, but Martinelli, is he the best left wing? Is he really though? Like they have some questions just generally. And I think that compared to the top 3, they just don't have talent-wise as good of a team. So it's hard to put Arsenal higher. And with the threat of everyone getting injured, it's a pretty bad one. So I think that Arsenal may have a bit of a struggle this season. Not like extreme struggle, like not Spurs, Manchester United struggle, but like a struggle as in they're not going to win the league. I think that's just it's there. They're not going to win the league. Moving on to third, a team that has been climbing up the ranks. It's Newcastle. Newcastle is so talented. Yes, they lost Isak, but now they're going to be playing Gordon up front, who's fine. He's going to be fine up front. They have such a good team, and I don't have anything to complain about it. it Barnes is an outstanding winger. So is Murphy, but Gordon up front's going to do well. Tonali, Bruno, they're all going to do fine. It's a good team overall. I have nothing to complain about Newcastle. So they're going third because I think honestly they have a better team than anyone who's below them. So I think I just have to put them in third. They just have a solid squad. So who's going to get the defeat and heartbreak of silver? Is it going to be Liverpool or Chelsea? I'm a Liverpool fan, you know that. So we have to put Chelsea there. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They just won the Club World Cup. They're an outstanding team. But I don't think they're good enough. It's just they don't. Liverpool is going to be so good this season. They are the next Real Madrid, like gathering everyone who is minorly talented into one team just to make it overpowered. I expected Real Madrid to win the Club World Cup just because that's what they're doing. They're getting everyone who has a name that has been made for them to put them in one team. And Liverpool's trying to do the same thing, but I think Liverpool can do it well. And that's why Chelsea's in second. They have a very good team. João Pedro or Delap, whoever starts, is going to be very good up front and much better than what Jackson did. And defensively, they're very good. I think that they have a solid defense, a fair goalkeeper. I want to go an excellent goalkeeper, but a fair goalkeeper, and a good midfield and a very good offense. Palmer is an outstanding player, and you saw that in the Club World Cup final against potentially the best team in the world. Palmer is going to be unstoppable. If he plays like he did in the Club World Cup against PSG, he is going to be the most unstoppable player ever. And that's why they go second. They're going to be very good. Finally, and first, to no one's shock, I'm putting Liverpool. Because, like I said earlier, they're gathering everyone who is talented and they're bringing into one club. They're going to be so good. They're going to be unstoppable. Up front with Gakpo, Salah, and Verts, that's that's an unstoppable offense. You're not going to defend against that. How are you supposed to defend against that? And defensively, they're solid. I think that Arsenal's defense is the best in the league, but Liverpool's the second best. And if you're the best offense and the second best defense in the league, you're not gonna you're gonna be so good. Like getting Kirkus is great for them. He is a very good defender, and honestly, defensively, losing Arnold isn't that bad because now the fullbacks are probably better than what they had, and in their midfield is probably their weakest spot. But Schloboslai and McAllister, I'm not complaining. They're fine. They're great players. Jones is probably their weakest link on that team, and I can complain about him. He's mediocre, but they're so good. If 10 out of the 11 players are potentially some of the best players in the league at that moment, it's going to be hard to stop you. And Liverpool's exactly that. So I'm putting them in first. I'm putting that solid in. I've said Liverpool's going to win the league since the start of the season just because, you know, it's Liverpool. They're going to be good. So that sums up my predictions. I hope you enjoyed Fifi on football. I hope you come back to this channel if you're new, and I hope you like and subscribe. If you do that, it helps out my channel. It gives me motivation to make more of these videos, so you'll see seeing it more of it if you help it out. So thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.